Should have packed our snowshoes.
What? People do that?
You know, fun fact, not only is it the oldest, but remains one of the most effective means of traversing the ice.
Wow. Yeah, you're gonna fit right in at Beaverfield. Everything here is a little questionable.
Ranger!
The people. The weather. Everything.
Oh.
Well, heavens to Betsy, this movie was so much fun. Personality just bleeds off the screen like your characters are, I don't know, plucked out of a Coen Brothers movie, but dialed up to 11.
That's the best compliment you could give us.
Was it as fun to shoot as it was to for me to watch?
It was. Yeah, it was a ridiculous amount of fun. Too much fun. It's an incredible cast of weirdos, and we were trapped in a lodge in the middle of nowhere during a very snowy winter in a hotel that hadn't opened yet, so we had the run of the place.
It was like The Shining.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
But Michael said something once where he was like, if it's this fun, the movie probably won't be this good, because you know sometimes there's this weird rule of balance where if you have that much fun making it, that the outcome might not be as fun as you remember it, you know. And this was weird because I think when we all saw the cut, we were like, this is great.
Yeah.
But it was so much fun.
Good. I'm happy to hear that. I love how there's dialogue going on at all times, especially when there's quite a few characters in a room. It definitely invites more viewings of the film. Michael, you are familiar with this approach with Mistress America. How liberating is that as performers to kind of slip into that rhythm?
I love it. It's like feels like a true ensemble comedy. And my background is originally in the theater, so this idea that everyone's got to keep the ball in the air and that life is always happening. It's the way that we talk in real life in a group, that people are talking over each other. There's conversations in the background. It's incredibly hard to shoot, and it takes more takes. You have to have more cracks at it, and almost sort of rehearsals and choreography. There's a bunch of group scenes in the inn, especially in the beginning, where we're talking over each other, and it took some ironing out, but it's very rewarding.
I don't know, just some of the lines that are said, and I'm trying to focus on each one, and there's just like whenever somebody cusses, somebody says language in the background, and so I'm just trying to keep tabs on everything.
You know, you also have 9. Is it 9? How many are in our cast? I don't even know. I'm guessing at 9. Seems like a magic number. But we are all improvisers. We're all, so everybody's quite deferential. We all respect each other so much. So we're shooting 9 people in a room together with one camera, which is insane. But it did feel like a play, exactly, because we were also shooting at this old inn in the Catskills in the mountains. I mean, everything about it felt like we were doing live theater in a live location. It didn't feel like a set. We didn't have to move walls or take out a wall, and there was never. It just always felt like we were in the setting that we were depicting, and because we were. And the choreography, I have to say, Josh Rubin is the most prepared, thoughtful director. I mean, he had everything worked out. And the DP, Mike Wise, right? That's his name.
Matt Wise. I think.
Matt Wise, excuse me. Yes, I knew I was off. Matt Wise is a young man and a genius. I mean, the lighting, everything just looks so beautiful. But what was fascinating for me in this process was it's not like they had to go around and get coverage of everybody. It was also choreographed in a way that it was okay that somebody was saying something off camera in the background, and that the scenes still fly. It's not like we're just, the camera's locked and things are just moving around. The pace of this film is so fast. Like it feels like the hour and a half of watching it goes by in 10 minutes because it's just so quick, and there's just no dead anything, even though we're doing these 20-minute takes, getting everybody moving around, and he's a really lively director.
Yeah, I believe it. I'm a big fan of, well, this film, and Scare Me was fantastic too.
Yeah.
Yeah, so good.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to ask this just because this movie's so quotable. Do you quote your own movies, like when it has that, like in your everyday life? Because that's what I do as a film critic, as a film lover. Like that's part of my language. Whenever I'm communicating with my wife or something, I'll quote something. She's like, "What is that from? That sounds familiar."
I find I like great lines from films or shows that I've been in. Just actually subconsciously work their way into my life. Like I don't even realize I'm quoting something that Michaela said in Werewolves Within. It just becomes part of my vernacular, you know. Yeah, I think it seeps into every part of you because you do it so much.
Yeah, you make your own slang, and you can't remember if it's from Caddyshack or if it was
Right.
a play you did, when you were 12. But
Exactly.
I just, Michael, I just had the funniest memory of one of the things that was happening.
Yeah.
I know you didn't ask this, Preston, but
Yeah.
Go for it.
I just started laughing, remembering how talking about how fun this was, and because we were also, our holding area was like one of the bedrooms of this old inn, and in one moment, and I'm not going to give anything away, but Michael is like screaming bloody murder, and we're like in the next room whispering and passing out pieces of cake because it was somebody's birthday, and we all had a piece of cake. And somebody filmed. You hear in the background Michael just screaming his head off while shooting, and the rest of us like, "Is this carrot cake? Is this carrot cake?
Would you like some? Would you?
Oh no, I'm good, thank you."
Is there dairy in it? Because I have an intolerance.
Oh God, it still makes me cry laugh. But anyway, in terms of what we were quoting, we were talking about that moment and peeing our pants over it for a long time.
That's great. What a year for the Trishas out there. Between this and Barb and Star, we have some Trishas to celebrate.
Oh God, I love that you saw Barb and Star. That's the funniest movie ever.
Yeah, so this and Barb and Star are funniest movies I've seen this year. But yeah, both Trish and Pete, like, I really want a prequel film with them because I want to see like how their relationship formed, how they met. I really want that. And I'm curious, did you guys at all dream up a backstory for them that we may not necessarily see, but it helps form your characters?
We lived it. We got married.
Yeah.
We own a gun range.
Yeah. We went to a few rallies, and here we are. We started making our own maple syrup. It's a whole thing. But normally I like to have that conversation with somebody, like, what is, how did we get here? Just so that we're on the same page about it. There's something about this that it just spoke for itself. Like I don't think we had that conversation. I don't think we needed that conversation. It was just, they didn't have I didn't think I don't think they were madly in love with each other. I felt a little like they were sort of coexisting in their own spaces anyway,
Yeah. They're not talking a bunch anyway, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you had your interests.
Right.
And I had mine,
Separate but equal.
Yeah. Other women.
I think, the script is incredibly rich and detailed, but I think the characters are sometimes almost like archetypes. Like some of the minutia of their lives doesn't really matter in terms of the movie. It's Pete and Trish remind me of so many people in my life. I grew up in Ohio, and I just know them.
Yeah,
and,
exactly.
Yeah. And it was less about how unique and specific their relationship was, as opposed to like how sort of universal and recognizable they were as a part of a small town ecosystem.
Michaela, did you keep any of Trisha's creations? I don't know whether it's the Ranger Snow Angel or the person.
Snow Angel. I don't know if it's in the movie. I can't remember, but like, she's very bitter about how she gave everybody a snow angel and nobody has them up in their houses. That was in there for a bit. I don't know if it, but did I keep any of her creations? As a matter of fact, I have, because I'm a knitter. And so when I talked to Josh, he's like, what kind of arts and crafts do you think you could do? And I was like, I could just knit. And so I knit Milana a hat.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love that scene where you're just feverishly knitting.
Yeah. So we have some pictures on Instagram of Milana wearing her. I just finished it on the set and then just gave it to her.
Great hat.
It was
Yeah.
a good hat. Yeah.
Good hat.
I'm not sure like what kind of film, like horror films that you were really into, like, or what your history with horror films was before this. But because you're in a film like this that has fun with it, does it change your relationship with horror at all? Do you still love and appreciate it? Does it strengthen it?
I have no relationship with horror movies because I am terrified. I learned at a very young age that my brain actually doesn't know how to enjoy a horror movie because it thinks it's actually happening. So, so I avoid horror movies. You know, I can't, like, I can't, because I think that somebody's actually chasing me through the woods when I watch one. At least that's what it feels like in my body. So this was really fun because it's kind of maybe my first horror movie, and I would like to do more. I mean, I thought that I think it's such a fun genre, you know.
Yeah.
And this is a really funny horror movie, and I think that's the perfect combo, like Get Out, you know.
Right.
Where, yeah.
I was obsessed with horror movies as a kid, and I remember getting our first VCR. I'm in my 40s, and it was a huge deal getting a VCR. And this was before Blockbuster. It was just like a local mom and pop electronics store that we bought this VCR from. And in my mind, they cost like $17,000. And they had probably, I don't know, 150 VHS tapes that you could rent in this store, you know, like, and you got, I think, like 50 free rentals when you bought a VCR. And I would say half of those 150 movies that they had were horror movies. And a lot of them were like B and C horror movies. And there was a movie that my brother and I probably rented 10 times called Microwave Massacre. That was made in like the 70s. About a guy who kills people and then microwaves them and eats them in this giant microwave. And we were just obsessed with how scary they were, but also how ridiculous they were and funny they were, and often how poorly made they were. And it was a genre that actually kind of shaped my sense of humor and my storytelling point of view, because you can get away with anything in a horror movie too, kind of. And so I loved it. It's very freeing. And this horror movie especially is so special. It's to call it a horror movie isn't even correct. I mean, it's like a Coen Brothers movie. It's like a John Hughes movie. It's like the Goonies meets Fargo
Perfect
with
amount
a
of
wolf. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think I could write horror movies really well. I think I could, because if there's ever an opportunity to think of the worst possible thing that could happen right now, like, that's why I can't watch them, you know, because I was a latchkey kid growing up. I would have to walk to school by myself through neighborhoods like all the time. And I'd be like, what if a guy jumped out? What if that van that just drove by just stopped right now? And the guy, what would I do? What I would break that window over there, and I would, you know what I mean? It just like, I was fun, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And I just think like I'll be driving down the highway and be like, what if I just turned my steering wheel slightly, you know?
Yeah.
It's just like, there are just so many, you know, what if I stopped at this rest area and it was totally abandoned and I had to, so I feel like it'd be really fun to write them, and I could really, I could see myself being like, what if I just killed people and then microwave them and then ate them?
There you go. You can just make Microwave Massacre 2 or something. So,
Well, I think it's time for a reboot, if we're being honest with each other.
And if there is a rash of killings and microwaving of the victims, we all know where to look.
Depending on your screen.
Are we really in a Mexican standoff right now?
Baby, don't say Mexican. Just stand up.
You know, we're probably just gonna head out.
This is
Just pull it.
Well,
We got it on our own. It's just try. You go ahead, please. Don't spare me.
Oh, please don't. Oh, please. Please don't bother the
Spare
lock.
me. I think I
Oh
couldn't
my
do that
goodness, I
myself.
could have
Wow.
gotten it.